Welcome back to this, your spoiler warning for Devil May Cry 5, hosted by us, the members of Original Soundchat. I'm Peter Spezia, here with Joe DeVader, and let's talk some DMC5, baby!
It's a good game.
It's a real good game. During our episode 94 of Original Soundchat, I brought Devil May Cry 5 to the table, and there were certain things that we wanted to dance around and not really talk about, because, one, it's a pretty new game, 2019 and all that, but some twists are best found out for yourself, and there were still things about this game we wanted to talk about outside of the context of that episode. So, as you continue with this, if you have not played Devil May Cry 5, this would be your time to come back later once you have. If you have played the game, let's talk about it. We start usually with these, this is our second spoiler warning for Original Soundchat here, digging into what does Wikipedia say about the plot, and just kind of going from there, going through the plot points bit by bit, because Joe, just starting out in general, the narrative is all over the place chronologically.
Well, it starts, 3 months before the actual, bulk of the game takes place? Or something like that?
Yeah, it's like in media res. And it's, or feels like it at least. They're showing all these dates and you can't really keep them straight. It's certainly crazy. So let's start with the plot here. On the 16th of May, Devil Hunter Nero hunts a demon named Urizen, who took his demonic arm and the sword Yamato. Traveling to Redgrave City, he finds a demonic tree called Qlipoth planted in the city, which is killing people for their blood. Dante's group confronts Urizen, but empowered by the Qlipoth, he incapacitates them and overpowers Nero when he intervenes. Dante stops Urizen from capturing Nero, but is defeated and ejected from the Qlipoth, with his sword rebellion shattered. His allies Lady and Trish are captured to use as demon cores, while a client of Dante, V, convinces the weakened Nero to escape. On June 15th, Nero returns to Redgrave outfitted with the Devil Breaker prosthetic arm, made by his friend and gunsmith, Nico. Nero meets up with V, who is seeking Qlipoth for its fruit, born of condensed human blood, which makes whoever consumes it the king of the underworld. As the pair destroy the Qlipoth's roots while searching for Dante, Nero rescues Lady, while V splits off to discover the Devil's Sword Sparta, along with a hibernating Dante, whose presence was hidden by the sword. After awaking from his coma, Dante frees Trish, and begins fighting his way to Urizen. Trish learns from V that Urizen is actually the demon side of Dante's brother Virgil, who used Yamato's power to separate his demon and human halves, the latter manifesting as V, whose body is breaking down. Realizing Rebellion can merge forms together, Dante uses it to absorb the Sparta into himself, unlocking his full demonic power and creating a new weapon, the Devil Sword Dante. Nero attempts to confront Urizen again and is overpowered once more, but Dante rescues him and gains the upper hand with his new powers. Urizen takes his leave when the Qlipoth bears fruit and consumes it to empower himself further. While Dante arrives first to face Urizen, Nero rescues V from the demon Malphas, and learns of Dante's history with Virgil. Nero and V reach Dante just as he defeats Urizen, but a dying V intervenes and merges with Urizen before Dante can finish him, reviving Virgil. Virgil returns to the Qlipoth tree, telling Dante to recover his full strength before they battle again. Nero insists on going after Virgil himself, but Dante reveals Nero is Virgil's son, proven by how the Yamato reacted to him during the Fortuna incident where they first met, and refuses to let Nero kill his own father. Dante then faces V's familiars, revealed as the embodied memories of Virgil's time as Nello Angelo, and they elect to die by Dante's hand to lessen Virgil's trauma. Dante and Virgil fight again, where Virgil learns Nero is his son. Nero settles his emotions in a call to Kyrie, and resolves to not let his father and uncle die, fully awaking his demonic powers and regrowing his arm. Intervening in their fight and forcing Dante out, Nero vows to end the pair's sibling rivalry, and defeats Virgil, who gives Nero V's book to remember him by. Virgil joins Dante in a one-way trip to the underworld to cut the Qlipoth down and seal the portal before it rips Redgrave City apart, with Nero departing as the Qlipoth falls. Weeks later, Trish and Lady are hired for a new job by Morrison, whom Dante left in charge of his office. In the underworld, Dante and Virgil continue sparring while demons attack them, now friendly rivals instead of enemies. And that's Devil May Cry 5. So, I guess going back to the beginning, I was watching a little bit of this, Joe, and the whole thing when like Dante calls Nero dead weight and like gets all salty about that, it's like I don't know about that. That's just kind of annoying. But yeah, for let's say start off for Lady and Trish to be these demons, especially Trish in particular. When we talk about the Cavalier Angelo boss fight, it's cuts us open and it's Trish in there being controlled, and it's yeah, wow, it's quite a moment.
Personally, I think the cooler boss fight is the one that Lady is in, because it's just really unique and interesting. Speaking of the part at the beginning where Nero fights Urizen, did you know you can win that fight? It is possible.
I feel like I saw a video of that. Yeah, that's crazy. It takes a really long time, but wow.
If you beat him, credits roll. Like, it gives this little prologue of like, well, Nero stopped him, so game's over.
Yeah.
It's super possible, but you have to be really, really good at that fight to do it.
But yeah, a fight you're certainly meant to lose on your first time. Did you remember like what kind of devil breakers that you liked using?
I think I used Gerbera and Punchline a lot. I think that's the main one that I tended to use. From a design standpoint, I really like Pasta Breaker because it's the stupidest one.
It sure is. Yeah.
Or the fact that you could just give him a Mega Buster.
That DLC option. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't remember their names exactly, but I liked, having the tether to like pull you closer to enemies. That's really helpful. And also like the electric metal fist. That's also pretty neat overall.
I think I also used that one too. That's Overture, right? I think I used Overture a bunch.
I think so. Yeah.
It was mainly Overture, Gerbera, and Punchline. Tomboy, maybe, but I don't think I used Tomboy that much. Definitely didn't use Helter Skelter or Rawhide very often, I could tell you that for sure. Or Buster Arm, because I'm not good enough to use that, even though it's apparently insanely powerful.
Yeah, I feel like they started adding like too many, and then it's like, I like the ones I have. Thanks, though. You mentioned during the episode when you talked about how V's familiars are named after or referencing bosses from Devil May Cry 1. It's like, oh yeah, they sure were with Griffin and Shadow. And I feel like I kind of noticed that too, but it's just like, I didn't totally make the connection in my head because I guess, not actually playing it, just wasn't fully there. But it's like, there are so many little nods that it's like, it's pretty clear with the twist that V is at least related to Virgil in some way.
And Nightmare too. Nightmare is also a boss from Devil May Cry.
Right. Yes, the Devil Trigger summon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Goo Boy.
Yes. Big ol' hurling rocks and whatever.
Which there are points in that game where the only way to find some secrets is to summon Nightmare in that specific spot. It's super weird.
I feel like I came across one of those, but it's like, if there's more, geez, it's ridiculous. What do you make of that twist, though, that like, that's how they shoehorned Virgil into this one? Because like, Devil May Cry is at its best when Virgil's involved, let's be honest. It was certainly the case with 3, but to say like, oh, this Demon King Urizen is his demon form, and then V is the weak human form, I don't know.
I like that twist, but also like, it's the most telegraphed twist in the history of video games. People knew from the first trailer that showed him that like, oh, that's Virgil.
Like, those are his gauntlets on his, that's clearly Virgil.
People knew immediately. There was no hiding it. It was just instant, and people realized instantly. And so it didn't blindside me or anything. I think it's kind of neat, and people have pointed out that like, obviously Virgil's sort of 180 in terms of being a character at the end can be easily explained by like, V's in there now, and V actually like learned to give a crap about people. So, because Virgil's whole thing, it's not that Virgil is evil. It's Urizen is evil as hell.
Yeah,
but it's not that Virgil is evil. Virgil's whole thing is that he still has trauma from losing his mother when they were killed by demons for her being, in love with the demon Sparta and all that. And he does not want that to ever happen to him again. And so in his mind, the only way to make sure that never happens again is to be as powerful as humanly possible. And he is willing to do literally anything to get that power. So it's not so much that he's evil. He has very good intentions, but he's going about it in a really bad way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really, really comes across in V, because V's whole thing is like, yeah, okay, so maybe I went a little far this time. Just slightly.
Yeah, and I feel like the other kind of twist then it's as related to Virgil, the twist reveal, if you want to say that Nero is Virgil's son.
Which I believe people have known since 4. I don't think it was ever officially confirmed, but people have known that Nero was related to Virgil since Devil May Cry 4.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, it was pretty well telegraphed, especially when it's like, oh, why does this random kid have something to do with Yamato? Virgil's sword.
But that's also a highlight of Johnny Young Bosch's performance when Nero learns, and he's just like, why the hell didn't anyone tell me? You all knew? And him yelling at everybody in the van and then jumping out to go do his own thing. And the call with Kyrie is really sweet. And
I wish Kyrie was in this game more. Oh my gosh.
Johnny Young Bosch does a really good job as Nero. And like I said in the actual episode, I can't imagine anybody else in that role.
Right. Nah, he was great. It definitely was absolutely right to bring him back for sure. Especially for that final moment. The violin is playing for Legacy in the final showdown between Nero and Virgil.
As Nero gets his devil trigger, which is really funny because somebody pointed out they didn't hide the fact that he was going to get a devil trigger at all, because they gave the one character without a devil trigger the theme called Devil Trigger.
That's a good point. I never really realized that. But in that final showdown, it's this calm, soft music as they're starting to monologue at each other, or at least Virgil's trying to monologue at Nero. And then the game gives you the prompt of press was it up on the D-pad or something like that to use your devil trigger as Nero. And it's that big ol' F you moment.
My favorite part of that fight is, and I'm going to have to curse for this quote because it's the best quote in the game, in my opinion, where Nero shouts, "You feel like accepting me yet?" And Virgil responds with, "What? Your power or your existence?" And Nero just immediately responds with, "Both, you fucking asshole." It's just so good. Nero's such a good character.
And if you'll mind me cursing as well, I love that the big old "fuck you" comes. It can be at any time. Virgil's just monologuing about this thing, and it can at any time you can interrupt him with "fuck you," and it's just the music for Silver Bullet kicks in, and it's amazing.
It's such a good sequence. I love Nero so much.
It's just a fantastic. I mean, and then we can even say, oh my gosh, fighting Virgil, like we referenced in the original Soundchat episode. Oh my gosh, so difficult.
Yeah, well, when you get back with Nero, I found that fight to be way easier. That fight's kind of like a victory lap, if I remember correctly.
It absolutely is, because you're super strong. But against when you're Dante against Virgil, woof.
And speaking of, I mentioned in the episode that the Faust thing was one of my favorite moments from that LP that I watched after I played.
Sure.
But the best one, so Wooly is a huge fan of Virgil. Virgil is like one of his favorite characters in video games.
Understandable. Virgil's dope.
So like when V refuses with Urizen and it's Virgil and the title comes up that says Virgil, the Omega, he just like, you just hear him make this inhuman and it's so good. It's such a good moment. I highly recommend looking into a best of compilation of that LP. He's put one up himself. Just absolutely worth it. It's very good.
I will definitely have to do that because, yeah, for me, it was just like, oh, of course, kind of thing. Oh, man, so good. Any final thoughts on Devil May Cry 5 and any spoilers and anything like that?
Subhuman is a bad song.
I mean, it really is. Like, we weren't kidding. Like,
if you buy the DLC, you have the ability to replace it with Devils Never Cry. So
oh, wow.
Just do that.
I mean, yeah, give Capcom more money. Sure, absolutely. No, but that'll do it for us for this spoiler warning for Devil May Cry 5. We like to put these out, especially when, you know, there are games that we've both played and just want to vent about further that we necessarily can't on original Soundchat, whether it's for different reasons here or there. Find me on Twitter at Pete Speakeasy. Joe's over at the Dobaga. And catch us on the original Soundchat podcast feed on podcast storefronts everywhere. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Take care.